Welcome back into the Windy City Breeze Sports Talk Daily. It's your boy Pat the Designer, joined by Jordan JC, always in the building. Appreciate y'all tuning in, showing love. Hit that like button if you have not done so. Subscribe to the page. Leave a 5-star review, man. Y'all know what to do. Let's keep the conversation going. Let's talk about the Zach Lavine side of this whole thing, because the latest that we've heard on the Zach Lavine rumor is that the Bulls may have to attach some other kind of compensation to move on from Zach Lavine if they want to move on from him ahead of the season. This makes this very interesting because, to me, when we hear also Rich Paul coming out trying to defend his client and stuff like that on something that, like, I don't think anyone's saying. Rich Paul was like, "Oh my God, like, this guy's a good guy. He's done everything the Bulls have asked," and nobody was sitting there going like, "We hate you, Zach."
What you
I don't think that conversation was being had there. But to me, right, he's trying to churn up the Zach Lavine name. He's trying to churn up, okay, this is what Zach Lavine is right now in the league, and this is what he can go out there and do. This is what he could contribute to a team. When you hear that the Bulls might need to attach some kind of capital, when you hear that they might need to attach maybe another player, an Ayo Dosunmu or something like that, on top of trading away Zach Lavine, is it worth it to even move Zach at this point? Or do you head into the season, and if he's not contributed to winning, you just say, go sit on the end of the bench?
Man, that is a tough call. I'm going to be honest. We've gotten to the point now where we can't trade Zach, and we're trying to give up picks. Again, what is the direction? The direction is trying to cater to the youth movement, keeping all of your assets, keeping all of your resources like your pick. So, I mean, for me personally, no, I wouldn't attach a pick to Zach Lavine at this point. If there's no trade value out there and, you know, teams are asking for more than just him as a player, hey, take some bench. I'm sorry. Like that's just the direction I'm going in. I'm not going to take a step back if we're trying to move forward with the development of this young core. That's not going to happen. And if I'm heading the team.
I think that's what the tough part is, right? And there isn't a scenario in your mind where you feel like that's going to happen, but we've seen that happen, right? Where teams are ready to move on from a player, and the players make it big money, and they do one of two things. They say, "Hey, we'd love you to be around, but you sit on the end of that bench, and you're probably not going to move because we're still trying to trade you." Yep. Or you say, just you getting your money and stay home. We saw that happen with John Wall. We've seen that happen with James Harden. And I don't think that the Bulls are at that point. I don't think that the Bulls are in a bad situation as far as relationship-wise with Zach Lavine and the players on the floor, or Zach Lavine and, well, I guess the head coach in the front office is kind of a bad situation right now. But, like, to me, at this point, if you're talking about attaching draft capital, attaching future picks, attaching players that you think can be real players for the youth movement that is supposed to be happening here, like, if you're at that point in this, I'm kind of with you, where it's like, I would almost rather see him come back and you see if it works. If it doesn't work, you take him off of the floor, say, we're going to move you to a bench row. Kind of what they did with Larry Markkinen, right? Like, hey, we're going to move you to a bench row. You kind of at the end, you don't want to get in. Okay, I understand that. We're going to go with the players that we currently have on the court. And what that's going to do, again, it doesn't raise the trade value of Zach Lavine. It doesn't enhance the trade value of Zach Lavine. But what it does is show teams that, listen, the Chicago Bulls are literally done with Zach Lavine, and you could probably come in and buy low. And if that's the case, right, do the Bulls come out losers in that? Absolutely. I told you at the beginning of this thing, the Bulls were going to come out losers. But you don't want to slow down what you're trying to build because you're sitting here having to force a square peg into a round hole and try and continue to do that.
You hit it on the head. I think that the real reason why this is not going to work out well, specifically, no matter which direction you go, is because Zach Lavine's value, I feel like, is just going to be where it is. Like, teams have already figured out the type of player that Zach Lavine has been. I mean, we talked about him being one of the most losingest players, right, record-wise, as far as games are considered. He's just never been around winning. He doesn't have a winning mentality. And so teams know that, so you're going to have to want to give up more, or they're going to request more in a trade. And that's why I think, we're just going to have to take that L. If he stays on the team, sure, he can be a piece. We've never denied Zach's talent, right? Right. I mean, on a good season when he's healthy, like last year, I looked up the numbers. He averaged 25 points, 4.5 rebounds, 4.2 assists. I mean, right. That's something you want on your team. That's pretty good numbers. But it's at the point now where is he somebody that's going to get in the way of this youth movement, or can he contribute to the youth movement still, being still in his prime player, or is it just somebody that, hey, you know what, we're just going to have to see what happens at the trade deadline?
And see, I think that's the part that's interesting, right? Like it's I heard some people talking about this as well. Like, if Zach Lavine comes back and plays, he's going to get his trade value up. We know who Zach is.
Yeah.
What is playing going to show you that's different?
Yeah.
Like, somebody honestly tell me, what does Zach Lavine playing show you that changes your thought on him as a player? Zach Lavine is a player who has scored 50 in multiple games. Zach Lavine is a player that can go out there and put up 30 plus whenever he feels like it. Zach Lavine is the type of player that can consistently be a 25 and 5 type of guy. So what are you going to see that's going to make you think that Zach Lavine is different? I don't think that him playing raises his trade value. I guess like you'll see it and go, oh my goodness, he was able to go out there and stay healthy for a certain portion of the season, but what is that? You know what I mean? Like, what does that mean at this point? Because there's always going to be the question mark on, well, can he continue to stay healthy? How long can he stay on the court? How good is he going to be on the court when if he's not healthy, right? Like that, I think that's the part for me where the biggest questions come in around Zach Lavine and why, like, the Bulls are really just in a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
Like there's no way that I think you look at the Zach Lavine situation and think it was handled right by the front office. There's no way that I think this resolves in a way that it comes out favorably for the Chicago Bulls. And I think that if you're talking about having to attach something like, if you're getting something of value back, right? If you're getting a high draft pick or something back and you trade away Ayo Dosunmu and Zach Lavine, okay.
Ooh,
I can live with it. Right? If you're trading them to freaking, I don't know, Charlotte or something like that. And you're like, we're probably going to be in the top 10 here. Okay. I can deal with that. I don't like it because you had to trade him away just to get him off of the team and you had to attach a piece that could be a long-term piece. I don't like it, but I can deal with that. But if you're talking about trading them away for draft capital and you're still basically getting nothing back, what's the point in even doing that at this point?
Yeah. Like
at this point in his career, I think or at this point in this offseason, and this is crazy to say because this is a complete flip of how I feel about it. But I think the smart thing might honestly be if you can't move him for just him, bring him back, see how he affects winning in the organization. And if he doesn't, you sit him on the bench and you John Wall him. Because I don't think anything's going to change. I don't think him playing changes anything about his draft capital. I don't think that you look at him and just go, yeah, that guy's, he's going to be more than 25, 5, and 5. I also don't think you look at him and go, he's going to be much less than 25, 5, and 5.
Yeah. Yeah. My argument is perhaps his stock could even go down because let's just say what happens if we keep him and he plays and now he gets injured again. Obviously, we wouldn't want that to happen. But, I mean, that's the thing is I only see this getting worse, in my opinion. I don't see it getting better. I even noticed that there was someone in the chat that said that, maybe at the trade deadline, a lot of teams sometimes get desperate. And, maybe that could be an angle where, they need someone like a Zach Lavine because maybe somebody on their team that was a pivotal piece went down with injury. Now you have Zach Lavine come in that's a 3-level scorer, that's athletic still, that can contribute to, at least putting points on the board. That could be an angle. That's really the only way I see us coming out with something back. I would not want to trade Ayo Dosunmu. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like Ayo, and I mentioned this before, is the next coming of maybe like an Alex Caruso. I believe he's our best defensive player right now. I would not want that with the direction that we're going on with this team. We would have literally no defense on the squad. Yeah.
I can see an Alex Caruso type of player out of Ayo. By the way, we've missed a few here. Over 300.
What we got? Oh, 300. Throw Honda.
Over 500.
Hey, 500.
500.
Let's go.
Appreciate y'all tuning in, man. If you haven't done so, hit that like button, subscribe to the page, man. Leave that 5-star review. If you're over on the Twitter side, man, hit that like button. But you know, likes is crazy on Twitter, so hit that retweet button as well. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and rocking with us, man.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, the thing that is the worst case scenario on this is if you have to bring him back to this team. You would much rather clear the cap space. You would much rather not be dealing with having to pay a guy like Zach Lavine. You would much rather be in a position to basically say, okay, we're able to reset this thing fully and we don't have any distractions on the team, because that is going to be a distraction. It will be a Chicago Bulls nightmare if you get to media day and Zach Lavine is still on this team. And yeah, maybe there is some hope of teams who get desperate at the halfway point. But again, right, like, I think there are teams out there, if we're being honest, who are in free agency that I look at and I'm like, well, you didn't get Paul George, you didn't get James Harden, LeBron James went back to the Lakers, right? All the big names are gone, minus Miles Bridges. Tobias Harris, I guess that's enough. Like, Tobias Harris got paid before Zach Lavine got moved.
Yeah, that's
like,
yeah.
If you're a team that right now feels like you're a Zach Lavine away, and you're not picking up the phone right now, why are you picking up the phone at the trade deadline? I just don't see anything changing by him playing 50 games with the Chicago Bulls and then getting moved. Like, all of a sudden, everybody's going to be all in. And the problem is, on top of that, yes, he has the contract attached to him, but teams don't view him as a player that's going to come in, right? Like, because you're assuming if you get desperate, it's because somebody got hurt. Teams don't view Zach Lavine as a winning player. Teams don't view Zach Lavine as a player that comes in and your wins go the right direction or your culture changes.
Yeah.
They view him as a nice scorer. So if somebody's getting hurt and that's what you're banking on, why would I trade for Zach Lavine? If I got to trade anyway, I'm talking trade for some of these teams that probably have assets that are on the decline. And again, Zach Lavine's not the number one name in that situation. You got to think, now a half a season has gone by. It's not just Zach Lavine who's played well. Now a half a season has gone by, and there's a bunch of players who have played well who will probably be on the trade market, and teams will more than likely be trying to call about them before they're calling about Zach.
Yeah, that's now you got competition. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah. It's a lose-lose situation.
That's why I said you're in between a rock and a hard place with this, because it's not like, right, like I know people just think it's easy to just, oh, well, it's you just flip the contract. Somebody will take him. Yeah, no, the league is telling you we don't want him, just like the Bulls are telling you we don't want him. And whether it has to do with the contract, whether it has to do with the health, whether it has to do with the winning percentage, nothing about it puts the Bulls in a position to be able to move off of him without giving up something that they view more valuable than Zach Lavine. And if it's more valuable than Zach Lavine, you're probably in a spot where you probably need that piece on your team.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. But no, I'm with you. And again, Raging Oracle, man, that's the reason why. And he just talked about, Pat just talked about the value. To me, I feel like trading a pick, the pick to me is more valuable than Zach Lavine at this point, in my opinion. Like, going forward with the youth movement, that's why I wouldn't trade a pick with him. That's why I would just let him sit on the bench. That's the reason why I wouldn't take that trade.
I understand. Raging wants to clear the cap. Raging wants to clear the cap, and it's very hard to tell a player that makes that much money to go just sit on the bench and be over there. But I don't think there's a better situation for you. If you're moving on from assets just to get off of the money, then you've put yourself in an even worse situation just to get off of the money. Like, it's not, at that point, getting off of the money isn't even it is beneficial, but you've probably hampered your team to a point where it's not going to be as beneficial.
Yeah. We'll see, man. This is This is a very conundrum. This is what we
It's a,
always.
it's a,
This
it's a
is what
horrible
happens with the
situation
Bulls
to
all the
be in,
time.
man. Like I would have never, when I was all in on signing Zach, and I was fine with signing Zach. I said you get him his money, you develop some other people with him, you put a team together that works. And I guess right in this scenario, maybe there's let's not pretend like we haven't seen this as well. Guy comes back on not the best terms. Team starts winning. All of a sudden, everything's fixed. Yeah, I mean, like, I think that is like if you come back and Zach Lavine and Giddey and Kobe play well, maybe things work themselves out and people feel better about it, and you can, put yourself in a better spot to maybe move on from Zach Lavine, or it kind of all the storyline itself goes away and you kind of push through and everybody's kumbaya at that point. But I don't know, man. I don't know.
At that point, you need to get rid of
Wizards
Billy
that
D.
Wall and Porter took longer to fix the problem. We got proof of that. I agree with you, but the Wizards also are probably the only team in the league that has worse management than us. But
they're pretty bad.
At the same time, the Wizards also had nothing else, right? Like, I think the Bulls think they have something else. I think the Bulls think that they have something with Kobe White. I think the Bulls think that they have something with Josh Giddey. The Wizards basically just said, sit down, we're going to lose. And we're going to draft the next you. And then they haven't drafted the next him. Rex Smith said, I watched Russell Westbrook with a $47 million hit go straight to the Lakers because LeBron demanded it. I mean, sure, but you also still have to have the cap space to do that. Like, the Lakers have, even with LeBron taking a step aside, have $13 million. Unless they go deep into the apron. Now, I guess if you're at the top of the Western Conference, like, maybe they do. But, like, even then, are you, again, what it comes down to is, are you clamoring for Zach Lavine at the trade deadline or somebody better?
No, I think they would want DeMar.
I would want somebody better at the trade deadline. I would.
Oh, at the trade deadline, yeah.
Like, honestly, if you're in that spot, give me somebody better.
Yeah.
Don't give me Zach Lavine. Give me somebody that I think is going to come in and actually impact, like I said before, winning. But we'll see what ends up happening, man. Appreciate you guys tuning in and showing love. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave that 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Short show today because of the holiday weekend. Everybody's out kicking it and stuff like that. But just still wanted to get you guys some content out there, and you guys rocked with it. Over 200 on the YouTube side, over 300 over on the Twitter side. So appreciate you guys rocking with us as always. Hit that like button if you have not done so. Subscribe to the page, man. Leave a 5-star review. If you're over on Twitter, hit the retweet. For Jordan JC, it's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. Y'all let us know your thoughts on what the Bulls could do in the comments below. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. See Red Nation stand up.